Welcome. I'm Faye Waterman, the Conversation Curator, and today we're going to be talking about Julie Hyne's superpowers. Now, Julie is a certified image professional. She is known as the secret weapon. She's a confidant, a mentor, a resource, and even been called the guardian angel. And I believe all of those things about Julie because she has given many women the confidence to step out into the world and feel confident and amazing about who they are and what they do. Welcome, Julie. And today, what we're going to be talking about are your superpowers and where you come from. So a little bit of your backstory of why you got into imaging and consulting with women to make them feel good about themselves. What possessed you to do that in the first instant?
Oh, gosh, Faye. Thank you for asking. It's a huge question because it goes back quite a long way ago because I have been doing this for such a long time. I think when because I came from the corporate sector, so I was in a very accountable senior sales role with a global organization, which had me, sort of doing all sorts of amazing things. But, then fell pregnant and, started my family, which took maternity leave. And when I wanted to go back to that organization, there'd been a huge reshuffle. So what I had to do was reinvent myself. I had to decide what was I going to do because I wasn't the sort of person that could just sit back on my laurels and not do anything. I came from a very entrepreneurial family. And so I just started doing some research into some things. I was also have my mother's creative flair. And I started working with a makeup brand in a network marketing type scenario. And that extended to helping girls in private schools because my school actually called me up and said, Julie, we'd like you to come in and talk to the Year 10 girls on professional readiness. So this is a long time ago. But I thought, well, that's interesting. So I went in and I found that they were really thirsty for information. They really wanted to know how to go about doing this. And I really enjoyed that whole experience. So I thought, I'm going to keep doing that. So I kept doing that and approaching other girls' schools to come in and talk to them. And that just grew. And as I was doing that, I thought, there's something in this. I'm really enjoying this. It's, giving my knowledge over, but what else can I be doing to expand on that? So I did some research all those years ago and came across image consulting. I'd never heard of it before. I didn't know what it was. So on further investigation, I found there were two trainers here in Melbourne. One was very corporate and one was a little bit more, had a lot more empathy and compassion. And there was, she was that sort of person. So on interviewing them both, I decided that I would train with Anne Rankton and ever so glad that I did. And so I undertook this incredibly expensive for me training program over 2 weeks, which gave me the knowledge to be able to start my own image consultancy business. And I just knew absolutely, when I started, I was petrified. I didn't know what I was doing. But look, gradually you just learn, and I continued to educate myself. She handed me a few clients to work with. And so then I started networking in my local area and got a few more clients and just started building it up. And that's how I started. And I just found it incredibly rewarding because women were coming and really wanting to understand how to do this, how to dress well, what colors should they be wearing, why were they feeling frumpy in their clothes? Why were they not able to put a wardrobe together? Why did they not feel good in the clothes that they'd actually purchased themselves? And they were coming to me for all sorts of different reasons. It could be marriage breakup. It could be they were going for a new role. all sorts of different reasons. But it was all about them really finding their own confidence levels to be able to be successful, to do what it was they wanted to do. And that's how it started to grow. I was doing it from home, and then I decided I'd branch out and looked for a beauty salon, which I found one. And so I leveraged image consulting with the beauty side of things. And that set me on a whole new journey of discovery and learning. Had to learn how to do online marketing and send out my first email newsletter because it was all very new back then. Bring this tired salon into the new technological age, and deal with staff issues and learn about the beauty industry. So much so that I actually put together a training program for beauty therapists all those years ago on how to sell, because remember, I came from a sales background as well. And so I did an awful lot in that industry. And then GFC came along, and I thought, time for me to just go back to my grassroots and do my image consultancy. And so I did eventually sell my salon and just started working on my own again, and really focused on senior executive women, because I was at that age phase that I was the same age as these women. And although we've come from different pathways, there was a great connection point there of the sorts of things women were experiencing as they were going into that phase of their life. Menopause, aging parents, children at private schools, cash flow problems, but they still wanted to have the confidence, and they still needed to look really good, but they didn't know how to do it. So that's what started, that's what's brought me to here, basically.
What a fabulous journey, and what interesting people, women you would have met along this pathway, this journey that you've been on for many years, and the joy you would have gotten out of seeing those women grow, and that confidence, and going out and pursuing life in a different light to what they had, from the breakups to moving from corporate into corporate or whatever it was, but actually giving them the confidence to not feel frumpy, not feel disengaged with themselves, I suppose you could say. So I would say one of your superpowers is actually getting women to re-engage in who they are, how they feel, and how they look.
That is true. I think for a lot of them, some of them were already in that space, but they didn't want to dress like everyone else. They knew that they could do better. And, just going back through some of my client letters before, because I thought just need to have a little read of what's going on. And, one in particular said, well, I just wanted the reassurance to know that I wasn't going to go into a boardroom and have the same jacket on as somebody else.
Mm.
So she said I had this incredible gift of being able to go into her wardrobe and just identify what was missing and what she needed to inject into her wardrobe to give her that point of difference and elevate her into, put her head above everyone else. So she was actually getting recognised and the opportunities started to flow. And I think that's a common thread amongst all of my clients that say, just give us the edge. You are that secret weapon that other women don't have, because they don't have you supporting them, giving them that, level of expertise and advice and support. And that's really what it's all about. I mean, even when I go shopping with my clients, I dress in black. I'm not the focus of attention. It's all about them. And I love nothing better than to see my clients, shine at the end of the day and feel confident and feel empowered and get the compliments that come from even other women on how amazing they look, how fabulous they look.
And that's an important thing. When you get a compliment from somebody, a lot of the time we say, oh, this day thing, or it's really old, or
We've
whatever.
got to play it down, right?
Yeah.
We're really bad at taking compliments on board, but we need to. We need to be able to, acknowledge a person giving us a compliment and recognise that it's, there's a planning process that's gone in behind that. It hasn't just sort of happened for a lot of these women. And let me tell you, some of the most stunning women that you see out there, that just doesn't happen. Right? They get out of bed with, they have a bad hair day. They get out of bed looking horrible and they have to get themselves together. And most of them have people like me behind them who actually have planned it all out for them, and they've helped them get the right hairstyle so it's easy for them to manage and style, help them put the right makeup kit together so that and teach them how to actually apply it. So if they haven't got a makeup artist doing it for them, so that they look well put together, they're collected and they're confident. And so when they're going into that important meeting or event or speaking or whatever it might be, that they're not distracted, they're not second guessing themselves. They know all the boxes have been ticked in terms of the style of outfit they need to wear, the colours they need to wear, how it's coordinated, how they've accessorised it, how they've groomed themselves. The whole image is one which is coherent with what they're all about and what they're talking about.
And that's so important, and being prepared for every different event or workplace or business that they're going into, being appropriately presented so that they are taken seriously. Because a lot of the time, women are, particularly in the corporate area, are up against men, and a lot of women need or have that feel to dress and be empowered and bring out their masculine side instead of bringing out that feminine side, which would get them much further than bringing out that masculine side.
Absolutely. And I posted something on LinkedIn this morning on that topic, because I had a conversation with another woman yesterday, and what came out of that conversation is that she'd always dressed with a masculine, essence to it. And I said, oh, that's interesting, because very long hair. And I said, why did, what's your feelings about femininity? And she said, well, I'd like to be able to do that, but I've not done that because, people tend to think that, if you dress girly, it's, you're less intelligent. Whoa.
Ooh. Shake her.
And look, there's so many biases out there for women in business, and we can be our own worst enemy as well, in terms of the that we put on other women. Look at her, what was she thinking? And how dare she dress like that? And who's she kidding? And all of those sorts of things can often come from your fellow female colleagues. And it prevents a woman from actually stepping up to who she is as a person and how she really feels inside. And it's really sad, because there are so many ways you can still dress to bring out your femininity and your feminine side, but still have presence.
Yes.
Still command the room, and still, have that ability for people to stop and listen, and to what you're saying. And women who actually embrace that and who are successful, they're the ones that will be the amazing mentors and role models for other women coming through, because there's a real problem, as we know, with gender equality and the number of women that are stepping up into senior positions. But it's not going to happen if women try to downplay who they are as a woman, first and foremost. in my mind anyway. And I was reading an article on LinkedIn last night, actually, that was saying that, the numbers are actually getting worse. There's less and less women actually coming up into senior roles. But then they talk about organisations that have, 40, 40, 20. So 40% women, 40% men, 20% non-gender. Isn't that interesting? I wonder if the numbers are actually being fudged because we have this other addition into the whole equation now. It's not just strictly men, women. There's non-gender people coming into that as well. It's really interesting. I haven't thought about it that way before, but
an interesting topic that we could have a long conversation on there, Julie.
And perhaps not for today, but
yeah, but
challenging. They're challenging times for women and men too, I guess, at the moment.
yes.
Well, how should I present myself, and am I going to be ridiculed for dressing this way, or am I best to go this way? Am I best to follow the crowd, or do I want to stand out and be the lead? And so I'm all about helping my clients stand out and be the lead.
Absolutely.
Confidence to be the lead. And, by doing that, they are setting the boundary. They're setting, setting up their space that other women hopefully will follow.
And the more they do it, the more confident they become, and the less they think about what other people are going to think, because they've got you in their background saying, this is you. Show people who you are. And that's what it's all about. It's not about conforming to what's going on in the world or what's going on in fashion, because fashion is whatever you want it to be.
Fashion is fashion, but style is a whole different equation.
Yes.
So, fashion, I always say to my clients, look, fashion comes and goes. You got a trend come in and then it's out.
Yep.
And yes, you can wear the trend. It's how you wear the trend.
Mm.
Do you want to become a victim to the trend, or do you want to just express it in a way which tells other people that you are current and you're aware of what's going on out there, and, but you're just providing a little snippet of it, because underlying all of what you are is your unique style and personal brand. And if you're wearing your unique style, which really complements you, in all different ways in terms of your shape, your age, your physical attributes, your personal colours and your personality, because personality is very important, then it becomes your style, and you wear it with confidence, and you wear it well because you've been taught how to put yourself together properly, and you know what to wear for different occasions. Then, fashion is just, oh yeah, that's what's happening out in mainstream retail, but it's not necessarily what's happening in your wardrobe.
No, and that's a really interesting thing, because, gosh, I remember when I was young, a lot younger, and I thought fashion, I'd go and buy things and I'd think, well, what have I got to wear with that? Nothing. So it'd sit in the wardrobe and it would never get worn. And I did that for a very long time. So I had all these mismatch nothings.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking, oh, I want to go and hide.
Yeah.
Because I know I want to be different. I don't want to wear what other people wear. I don't want to be the same as everybody else. I want to be able to walk into a room and be seen and noticed for me, not for what I'm wearing, but for being an individual who owns herself.
That's exactly right. And one of my clients who does attend Parliament a lot, initially when we started working with her, she had a lot of a very familiar high-end brand in her wardrobe, and colours and patty. And I said, well, we have to sort of really just sort of try and move away from that brand. And so, yes, she has a lot of different things in her wardrobe now. And she said, going to Parliament was like playing a game of Carla Bingo, like could pick them out as they were walking down the hallways, that they were all wearing the same brand. And that was just so not where she wanted to be. And she's the captain of industry and highly successful and now, and, she does, she always looks impeccable and she looks amazing. I still put her outfits together for her for all her, critical engagements and meetings and things, because I know, because I keep a record of everything, that I know what she wore the last time when she met that MP and the time before and the time before. So I always make sure that she is actually looking different and appropriate for that particular meeting and that situation. So that's, it gets down to the nitty-gritty often with my clients who are high profile and are very influential, for me to really work closely with them behind the scenes on, okay, well, what's coming up in your month and what do I need to prepare for you through the various tools that, I give them access to, so that they can know exactly what they're doing.
You are their secret weapon, really, aren't you?
I like to think so. But I really, I'd love for it not to be a secret. I'd love for them to actually share it with other women, but they tend to get very protective of their what happens behind the scenes and how
why
they're out looking so fabulous all the time.
But why do women do that? Why are they so protective? I mean, they can look good as well as everyone around them look good, and they're not going to look the same. They're going to be different because they have a different personality, they have a different body, they may do similar work and things like that, but they're going to be different. So why not share the secret weapon?
No, I don't know, Faye. I think it's a really interesting element of women's psyche as to why they don't, some women anyway, don't feel comfortable sharing that they've worked with an image consultant and, passing a card on to someone because they might think that the other woman is going to be offended, that they're inferring that they need help. We're in a very litigious sort of time at the moment where people can get offended very easily about all sorts of things. So
that's silly.
I think it's silly too, because I know if I've used a service provider who I think is amazing, has done amazing things for me, then I will broadcast it to anyone who says they've got a problem in that area. Then, I will definitely pass on their details. And I love connecting people together. And I've done that in my own community, between my clients, where I feel, what, that would be a real, you need to meet one of my other clients because they do X, Y, Z. I think there's a really good fit there. I mean, that's what I do as well. It's about connections. It's about sharing information, because by doing that, we can empower women more.
And building those relationships, it's building that trust, it's building those relationships. I don't work in corporate. I've never worked in corporate, and I've chosen never to work in the corporate sector. That's not me. But it doesn't mean to say, because I don't work in that area, I don't need you.
Oh, Faye, can I tell you that the biggest dilemma these incredible women have is what to wear for their less formal networking events, for their weekend events. They're the things that they have trouble with at the end of the day. And I've got this wonderful professional wardrobe here, and I've got these beautiful things, but I've got nothing to wear on the weekend. And so I come in and say, okay, well, look, that's not that hard. How about we just take one of these items out of your professional wardrobe and we just mix it up this way? And they go, oh, I'd never thought of doing that. So, in my head, I see all of these different combinations, but they only see something being worn one way. So that's where I really help them expand the use of their wardrobe, because I like my clients to have quality, less of it, but quality, because they get an enormous return on investment, because I'm advising them to invest in things which I know they might not know at the time, but I know they're going to get incredible wear out of those things, because I can see the versatility of different things and how, if you put that with that, then that with that, and that's going to do this, and you're going to be able to get, and if we accessorize it this way, then you're going to be able to get all of this incredible wear out of it. And they go, I've never been able to do that.
So
Because they get stuck in a vortex of thinking that certain styles of clothes can only be worn a certain way. But I just throw that all up into the air and break it all down and say, well, actually, no.
yes.
This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to break it up.
Yeah. And, we went through COVID, and I think that we became very, I'd say, lazy with what we dressed in, because if we were working, we could have our PJs on the bottom with our Uggies on and just have dressed up on the top, which 99% of us did.
Yeah, a lot of people did. And
Yeah.
I stuck to my guns, and I always dressed every day, because I was actually really busy over COVID. My diary was full of women really needing help. How do I do this? How do I dress? And they were still, going for roles. There was still activity going on out there. But the whole how to present online, how to dress for work when you're online, how to be comfortably chic, working online was a really big deal. But there was so much about dopamine dressing over COVID too. I did a lot of work on that, because it was wearing colour to enhance, and improve your state of mind and your mood was really important, because it was incredibly depressing, what was going on. And
it
the
was.
workload that women had to take on, in terms of homeschooling and if they were in a senior role, they still had to look after their team. They just had so much on their plate. And it was hard for them. It was really hard for them to be able to, well, I can't dress as if I was going into the office, because I've got so many hats that I've got to put on through the day. So there was a lot of help required to actually help them still, if they had an important meeting that came up, if they were homeschooling, that they could just do one thing to be able to step in front of this Zoom camera and hold their space, and step out of one responsibility into another responsibility and feel like they've had that separation. Because what a lot of women did is they did become very comfortable and complacent about how they dressed. And I think this was a really big issue when we were starting to move out of COVID and back into, hybrid or face-to-face, because traditionally pre-COVID, you would go to work and you'd dress beautifully to go to work, and then you'd come home and you'd change. And so home was a place of rest and relaxation and comfort. So it was really hard to make that differentiation when you're working from home, because this is my comfort space. I shouldn't have to dress up when I'm at home. So they had it was a real push-pull type situation for a lot of women. So just teaching them how to do it simply and easily, and do the bare basics to at least present well online was a really big topic.
And also those women that decided that they were going to get dressed up to put their rubbish bins out. Because it was a release for them, just dressing up.
Totally. Do you know, when I started having my kids years ago, I used to make Fridays my go out day. And I always got up there when I was in the hospital with my first. The nurses used to be amazed, because I'd get out of bed and I'd shower and I'd blow away my hair and I'd put my makeup on, even though I was still in hospital. They would say, you're the only one that does that. I said, I have to follow a routine. Like this is part of who I am as a person. And if I let go of this, I lose my identity.
Mm.
And so I've always done that because that's the essence of who I am as a person and as a woman. And I've held true to that through, I mean, you've known me a long time.
Yes, I have to.
True to that all my life. Doesn't matter what I'm doing, I will still present myself at the beginning of the day in case I bump into someone, or if I had to go down to the shop. Like it's
It is who you are, and you are proud of who you are.
It's just having that self-respect, and I think it reinforces every time you see a reflection of yourself, you can go, I'm okay, right?
I'm not feeling okay now.
No, but if if you always dress well, and then you keep reinforcing to yourself every time you look in the mirror that you haven't made the effort and you really look second rate, then that just drags you down further. I think, we as individuals have a lot to account for to ourselves.
We do.
Absolutely to actually, keep standards to a certain level, because once you start to drop standards for yourself, then everything else starts to fall down as well. We've got a this topic here, haven't we? But
I think it's all relevant to being that individual who needs you as their as their weapon. I'm not going to call you a secret weapon, because I think you need to be known as the weapon for women to be drawn out of themselves and taken out into the big wide world, to realize that they have to have a respect for themselves, regardless of what other women think. They have to do it for them, not for anyone else, but for them. And I don't care whether you work in corporate, whether you're in the glass, up at the glass ceiling, or wherever you are, be you. This is why I'm doing this podcast, because I want people to realize their brilliance and their magic, to be able to share that with people so that people understand who they are and how they can help those individuals that need your help. And that's what's important. It's not about the tall poppy syndrome. It's not about worrying about who's going to judge you. It's not about any of that. It's about you being you and being true and real to yourself. And if you want to dress up every day and put makeup on, I don't go outside unless I've got lipstick on. I don't even go into the garden without lipstick or my mascara or my eyeliner. I don't wear much other makeup, but it's about presenting yourself in a way that you feel comfortable with who you are, no matter who says what about you.
Yeah. And there's the other side to that too. I agree wholeheartedly, because if you don't have the self-respect to do the bare minimum, then how can you expect other people to respect you and take you seriously as well? That's But there's also the second point with that is that we can make changes. So we can take women through transformations where they're not, despite all their efforts, they're not able to get to where they want to be in terms of how they're presenting, but they know they need to present a certain way to be able to get ahead. So that's the difference is, okay, where do you want to be? Here you are now, where do you want to be? What's not working for you at the moment? And so that's where I come in. That's where my expertise comes in, and I'm able to assess them confidentially as to where they're letting themselves down and what we need to be focusing on to really bring out the positive elements of who they are as a person, and what will make that attractive to the people they need to get the recognition from. It's not making them dress in a way which is not authentic to who they are. It's just helping them realize their true potential and how they can present. And you know what? It's amazing what happens to them when they go through that transformation process. it's quite surreal sometimes. You know, it can sometimes even be just a simple hair color change because I do colors and we work on, you know, hair color, eye color, skin tone, etc. And you know what is right for you. And you know, hairdressers are fabulous, but often they'll take you on a tangent which is perhaps not coherent with what it should be. And so that throws everything else out. It throws out the colors that you wear and everything. So I've done some amazing, just simple, you know what? I'll take their photo, I'll put it into an app that I've got, and I just show them the difference between how they're presenting now and what they would look like if their hair color was what it is supposed to be. And then I put their colors up against them as they are now and as it should be. And they're like, wow. So when they actually go off to the and have that done, that's when you start to see real change and real movement forward in terms of this whole transformation process, because they've been held back by someone else's lack of expertise in that particular space.
And you'll find a lot of times that the hairdresser will do what they think's best for you, not what is best for you.
Yeah, well, they're trained differently. I think when it comes to color, you know, color analysis, working with color, I mean, from a hairstylist perspective, a hair colorist, it's extremely technical, extremely technical. And I don't profess to have their knowledge as to how to put colors together and how to change hair color, but I do know color analysis and what colors are going to work best for a person based on skin tone, eye color, you know, hair color, etc. That's where we have the meeting of the minds and we come to an agreement on what's to be done. And it always works out spot on.
It's interesting. So what would you say your superpowers are, Julie?
Look, I think, you know, it's really just I understand women. I understand women and I understand where they're at. I understand their fears, their frustrations, and what they, you know, and I get it when, you know, there's always something underneath that they know they can do better, that they would really like to see. And so, you know, I just work towards that with them. So I have a lot of empathy. I try and make it a very fun process. You know, we have a lot of laughs. Sometimes we have a lot of tears. But it's always in a really nice environment. So I guess, you know, it's caring, it's the empathy, it's the caring, it's the really wanting to understand who you are as a woman and how can I help you be the best version of yourself to be.
And that is wonderful because I think every woman wants to be the best version of themselves. We sit and we repress, we push it down because we have that fear of being seen for something that we're not really. That's not life. No. Life is being seen for who you actually are and loving who you are.
Oh, absolutely. Look, one of the questions I ask my clients, you know, right at the start is, okay, give me 3 things that you really like about yourself. And that is the hardest question they can ever try and answer because they're really, really good at putting themselves down. All the things that they don't like about themselves, you know, and we call those prominent features, which we work with from a style perspective and colour perspective, and we acknowledge them and then we deal with them. But what are the things that you really like about yourself? And so, you know, we just flick the coin. You know, let's just not focus on all of that because I'll deal with all of that for you anyway. You don't have to worry about that. I want to know what you really like about yourself because that's what we also need to work on as well.
Well, thank you, Julie. I think you're amazing. You always have this presence of elegance about you, which from the first time I met you, and you've maintained it forever, and you always will. And I think that when you're working with your clients, you give them the confidence to know that they can present themselves in a way that they have that essence of elegance and can stand in their own power and be them and feel comfortable doing that.
I hope so. You know, we talk about executive presence, and there's, you know, one of the elements of executive presence is appearance. And sadly, in a lot of conversations that you'll find on the topic of executive presence, they talk about communication and leadership skills and gravitas, but they really don't like talking about the whole appearance side of it. But it's such an important part of it, because without you being able to look at yourself and say, I look great, I feel great, and I've got that confidence. If you look at yourself and you think, how can you have executive presence? You can't.
No, you can't.
I keep, drumming my drum, and, trying to
keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Talking about it, because it's the topic that seems to be the big elephant in the room that no one wants to discuss. Taboo.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that. We just need to deal with whatever it is in life every day, and not deal with.
They'll turn around and say, "I want to look like you."
Well, you can. Let me help you.
Like me, but we can certainly, we can
get them to look like what they feel good as. Themselves. Beautiful. Thank you, Julie. It's been a fabulous conversation. I'm not going to tell you how I feel about me right now.
Oh God, come on. You're so talented in so many ways. I'm sure listeners have no idea how much talent that is with you.
Thank you. I'm Faye Waterman. I am the conversation curator. This has been What's Your Superpower with the beautiful Julie Hyne, a certified image professional. If you want to feel good and look good and pursue any career and have that confidence, contact Julie. She will help you do that. Thank you. Thank you, Julie, for your time. And I'll see you again sometime. Bye for now.